Everyone, welcome to the Point Spread here at fantasypoints.com. Joe Dolan, Tom Brolley. I'm a little rosy. I just got off the bike, as I tend to do. Tom, I used to skip my workouts on Fridays, but
you can't do that. Gotta get that workout in. Friday is an important one because I do a little bit of drinking on Friday and Saturday nights, watching football and whatever. So got to get that workout in to make yourself feel a little better.
Absolutely. I'm going to get some Jamaican food tonight. Ooh. Gonna go get the jerk. She said, "You are what you eat." That's
sounds like a Hold Steady line.
No, it's Kanye, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right, Trey? Yeah, Trey. That is I figured Trey would pick up on that one. Anyway, welcome to the Point Spread, Tom. We got a full rack of games.
Yeah, here out of nowhere here.
How'd you do last night? What was the Thursday night special hit with Dalton Kincaid? And
bad luck. Gave out Gabe Davis over his longest reception. He had 9 of them. Averages 17 yards of reception for his career. None of them go over 20 yards. So also had a bet on him to have the most receiving yards in the game, and that was 18-1. And Shakir gets one last catch late in the game to ruin that $180 ticket. That was a fun little game. And then we had ATS picks. We had Buffalo, the 4th down play. They graze Baker Mayfield's face mask, and we lose the backdoor cover on that one. So, that was a fun little game for me last night.
Oh boy. That's well, T-Bro, I'm not terribly I'm sure you're a little cheesed off about that, but I'll tell you what we can do. We can make it better, right?
Let's go.
I think we can make it better. I think we can make some wagers here. We've got 15 games to make it up, so let's go.
And we got to fly through these. We got to crunch it. No bye weeks this week, so we got to fly through these.
I'm a little surprised by this, Tom. I'm surprised there's a 7 out there because I thought these would get gobbled up right away. The Eagles are laying 7 at Washington, 43.5 being the total. The Commanders tend to play the Eagles tough. Those division games, there's always a division opponent that plays a quote-unquote superior opponent tough. The Commanders have done it. They beat the Eagles last year. They took them to overtime earlier this season. But they're also 2 teams that, after last week, look like they're going in opposite directions. As we've seen in the NFL, though, you could fall into a trap betting on 2 teams that look like they're going in opposite directions. Eagles laying the 7. What's your read here, Tom?
Yeah, this was one we've already seen earlier this season, 34-31, as you said, an overtime game. They were 10-point underdogs in that game. So, but this line opened up 6.5 to start the week and did get bet up. And the 7s have not been taken out. So, but 3-1-1 in the last 3 seasons against the Commanders are against the Eagles so far in the last 3 years. So they've found a way to be very competitive, even as major underdogs in a lot of those games. So I'm leaning towards the Washington side for ATS poll purposes. But I think that this should be we throw out the records for this one. It's a divisional matchup, and this one always seems to be tighter than usual.
T-Bro, on the prop market here, let's see what we're looking at here. Sam Howell played really well in this game the last time out. 233.5 for Howell. Here's what's interesting is Jordan Davis might miss for the Eagles. He's listed as questionable. He missed the last 2 days with a hamstring injury, but I don't know if I can get myself to the window to bet a rushing prop over against the Philadelphia Eagles after what they did to Raheem Mostert last week.
No, the Brian Robinson props are cratering right now. He's down to like 10.5 carries for his rushing attempts props, 39.5 yards with Chris Rodriguez factoring in a little bit more over the recent weeks. So only could look one way on those props towards the under. I actually don't have anything prop-wise, I believe. Oh, no, I do have one. We're buying a little low here. Devonta Smith, 49.5 receiving yards. He's been kind of sitting in the 50-yard, mid-50s, high 50s for much of the season. This is kind of a low water mark, and we're gonna buy the dip here. Still a very good receiver, just a little bit of a funk, but just a couple of weeks ago, he saw 9 targets in this matchup and had 78 yards. We're targeting this Washington Commander, the perimeter corners here. They're giving up 152.3 yards to receivers aligned on the perimeter. So we're going out to Devonta Smith or AJ Brown. You can stop having these like 125 yard receiving games at least this week, spread a little bit of the wealth around to Devonta Smith.
Oh boy, looky here, T-Bro. We've got the Falcons and the Titans with as low a total as I've seen all year. 2.5. The Falcons are laying in Tennessee. 35 the total. It's going to be Desmond Ridder against Will Levis and Malik Willis in some Malik Levis.
There we go.
That's
I like
that's the shipper name of these two. Tom, 35 the total. Atlanta laying the 2.5 on the road in Tennessee. Who this might be the swan song of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, this was a game that opened up Atlanta -1.5 on Monday. When it looked like we all kind of assumed Ryan Tannehill was going to miss that game as well. Then we had the trade with the Eagles there, Kevin Byard, their top safety, getting shipped away, and then the word came out that Will Levis might be starting. So this line has moved up to 2.5. I never really got to 3, but there is some. It's like -115 at DraftKings, -122 at FanDuel on the -2.5 for the Falcons. So we might see some +3s eventually. With a rookie quarterback starting, we always see point spreads, move away from rookie quarterbacks with not a lot of experience. I do think it's probably going to settle at 3 here eventually. So if you want to get on the Falcons now, I think probably now is the time to get the 2.5. That's the side I'm leaning towards just because, just the great unknown here. And it's still under a field goal. But yeah, this looks like a potential rock fight, as you said, with the total. The total started at 37.5. So it dropped two points as well here with the quarterback news. And this could be an ugly game.
They have no Titans passing props, which I understand. But Tom, they do have receiving and rushing props, but Derrick Henry's not on the at least I don't see a rushing prop for Derrick Henry right now. There is a receiving prop, so maybe they just took it down. But
that's interesting. It was up this afternoon.
Maybe they're wondering, are they gonna really ride him into the ground here if they might trade him? You would think Henry and Hopkins are both prime candidates to be dealt.
Yeah, it looks like just using some tools here. It was at 60.5 this afternoon. I did see it when it was at 63.5. So there must have been some action on it. And they decided to take it down. Maybe somebody has some information on something that's happened in that backfield. I kind of didn't think Henry would get traded, but they're certainly starting to break things down there. And, they're selling off some parts, and maybe they could get something for him here. Certainly a few teams I think would be interested. The props are, I did get a Drake London prop here at 48.5 receiving yards. It's been bet up quite a bit since I gave it out, I think Thursday. I think it's up to 54.5 last I saw it this afternoon, 53.5 now on DraftKings. So I still like that. I thought it should be priced in that 53 to 55 yard range, kind of where he sat last week. I think he had 54 yards in that game last week. He's certainly come on. They're feeding him targets. And the Titans have been a pass funnel type of defense here for the last couple of years. So we're looking for Desmond Ridder and Drake London to continue their growing relationship here in recent weeks.
The Jets and the Giants, Tom, Dan Dimes, they took my advice. He's not going to play. And you want to say low totals? Well, here's another one. The Jets on the road, on the highway.
Yeah.
They're going to get to use their own locker room. The Jets are laying 3. Obviously, they're acting like they're at home because they kind of are. They just won't be in front of a Jets crowd. 35.5 being the total, Tom. It's another very low total as Zach Wilson will take on Tyrod Taylor in this one. Tyrod is going to start. And Tom, I don't know if you heard Brian Dable's comments.
A little.
There's a chance.
Was it comments or lack of comments?
It was the lack of comment.
Yeah.
The lack of comment that they're not sure. He wouldn't answer whether or not Daniel Jones will play again this year. That's basically the gist of what he said.
Yeah, that was a change. A change. That was a different tune than what they've been singing the last couple of weeks. That he'll be back and he's making progress. And obviously there was something that changed in the last week here. I think this is actually after watching Tyrod Taylor here the last couple of weeks. I think this is good for the Giants and the point spread. He was the better quarterback. The offense is just being run more efficiently. He's getting the ball out. He's playing behind a disheveled offensive line. Looks like Andrew Thomas is going to miss another game here, but I think this is better for them, and that's why I'm on the Giants here, +3. Not like there's a home field advantage here, but the Jets are coming off of their bye week, so they did get a little extra rest here, and they did. The injury report looks a little better because we did have Sauce Gardner out the last time, before the bye here. So Jets are getting right a little bit, but I like the Giants catching the 3 here. I've been impressed by Tyrod and just the moves that they've made in recent weeks here to get Jalen Hyde on the field, Wan'Dale Robinson on the field. They're getting their best players. They're getting Hodgins and Paris Campbell off the field. Let's get the rookies out there and the younger players out there, and I think it's starting to pay some dividends for them. So I like the Giants +3 for ATS purposes.
I wonder what the comments would be from Dable if Andrew Thomas were to play in this game, which he's not going to. He's doubtful. So
yeah.
It's still concerning, Tom. But hey, look, I wouldn't have brought Jones back against this team anyway. But yeah, it's just a nasty kind of match.
Yeah, it's one of those like, let's wait at least until Andrew Thomas is better. He re-injured that hamstring a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a slow recovery for him. So yeah, maybe you'll wait for Jones. And this is a high intensity game. It's a battle for New York. It's one that both teams want to have. This is always one of the preseason games that's most anticipated. So kind of a tough spot. If Jones hasn't really been practicing much, and offensive line still in shambles, so no rush to get him back. I know he was a limited participant this week, but I don't think there's a rush after the way Tyrod has played the last couple of weeks.
I'll give you the quotes in my morning show tomorrow, guys. But the Brian Dable thing, it's like the whole thing with the quotes is like, is he being an asshole because he's an NFL coach, or is he legitimately worried? And you never know with quotes, like with coaches, So you got to take that into account. Did you hit any props in this game, T-Bro? I'm seeing Jalen Hyatt at the 21.5. Now you look at that and so he had 75 last week, but he only had 2 catches. So could this be one of those games where he goes up against Sauce Gardner, gets 3 targets, and doesn't catch a pass?
Yeah, it does feel like that. He's kind of like Hyde. I kind of put in that Jameson Williams bucket. Like it's he's gonna have the 3 targets for 0 catches, or he's gonna catch 2 out of his 3 targets and go for 75 yards like he did last week. We did have a Hyatt prop last week. I think it was 19.5 yards, but that was a much easier matchup against the Commanders. We're not. I did look at that one. I gave it a little look-see, but decided to pass on that one with the tougher matchup here and with Sauce getting cleared. I did look, however, trying this one again. Saquon Barkley over 3.5 receptions, big plus price, plus 124. I got it at this afternoon. So just thinking that this has been a kind of a funnel towards running backs and towards inline tight ends, and they're giving up the second most receptions to running backs. So, and we have a 3-point spread here, so targets might be funneled to him anyway. So yeah, we got a plus 124 at DraftKings this afternoon. I'm seeing it plus 120 now, but I like Barkley to be a little bit more involved in the passing game this week. He's I think 7 catches here first 2 games with Tyrod, so he has been a check down specialist for him. So looking at Barkley over 3.5 receptions.
Houston and Carolina, Tom. This is number 1 versus number 2, and I do not want to compare either of these guys to Peyton Manning, nor do I want to compare either of the 2 of them to Ryan Leaf. But this always reminds me that Ryan Leaf beat Peyton Manning. I think
rookies.
As rookies, but CJ Stroud clearly outplaying Bryce Young. And hey, Bryce Young might not be the guy, but he's already played better in his NFL career than Ryan Leaf has. So at least he has that. But the Panthers are winless, and the Panthers, Tom, are catching 3.5 at home. 43.5 the total against the Texans, who are getting some love there. 3 in the hook on the road with a rookie quarterback. Look out.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I jumped on the Texans -3 earlier this week. And has moved to 3.5. But this is a spot historically where team coming out of a bye. Well, both these teams are coming out of the bye, but team coming out of their bye, winless. Sometimes they kind of throw the kitchen sink for these games. So I have gotten a little bit more worried about this game as the week has gone on. Also, coordinator change for the Panthers. Frank Reich gave up play calling duties to Thomas Brown. So a bit of an element of the unknown here as well for the Panthers. And just listening to the matchup podcast with Adam Kaplan talking to John and Brett last night. It sounds like, hey, maybe we're not going to throw every pass to Adam Thielen on every play moving forward. We're going to take more deep shots. We're going to try to do more things down the field and kind of open up this passing game. So this is one. I'm on the Texans. I still see a 3 out there. It's Caesars. It's -120. So if you want to join me on the Texans, but I do have to admit, I'm getting a little bit worried about this game as the week has moved on here.
Did you hit anything in the prop market in this game, Tom?
Yes. I do have Bryce Young under his passing yards. It was set pretty high, 231.5, I believe, is what I got it at. 232.5 out there at Caesar still. It's been bet down a little bit. FanDuel has it at 226.5 now. So he's had to really have extreme garbage time to really rack up pass. He's averaging 5.6 yards per attempt. So kind of like this one, especially, if this, stays within a field goal type of game or within a touchdown type of game, that maybe there won't be nearly as much garbage time opportunities for Bryce Young. So like that one, under 217 or fewer yards in 4 of his first 5 games, even with a lot of garbage time. And the other one, I was Nico Collins.
Oh, I was about to say, Tom.
Yeah, this one's
a blow-up spot for him.
Yeah, we got it at 51.5 earlier this week. It has been bet up to 56.5 is the last I saw it this afternoon. So liking that we got in on it early here. Yeah, 57.5 is out there, 58.5, 60.5 at FanDuel. So we got some nice value if you follow along in our betting Discord, and we're able to get that one early in the week at 51.5. Just a prime matchup here, and he's hit 80 yards in 4 of his 6 games, and he's been great against zone coverage and a single high coverage. Any way you slice and dice it, it's looking like a very strong matchup for Nico Collins this week.
Let's move on to New England and Miami. Now, here's another example, Tom. Like Miami laying the 9.5, which kind of feels heavy after what the Patriots did to them. Holding them down in week 2, but the Patriots are down Matthew Judon since then. They're down Christian Gonzalez since then. The Dolphins coming off getting blued out in prime time. The Patriots, that's what my nephew used to say.
Blued out.
Yeah, so I love saying that. And the Patriots.
What was the Emmitt Smith? Didn't Emmitt Smith used to say blowed out? He wasn't.
No, he said they got debacled.
Debacle. Oh, he said. I think he also said blowed out.
Blowed out. Yeah, yeah. They got debacled. But anyway, Miami 9.5, 47 the total. They're giving the Patriots down in South Beach. Tom, Bill Belichick got that big win against Buffalo. Are you laying the 9.5 with the Dolphins this week?
I'm with the Falcons, the Patriots plus 9.5. This is a line that was at 10.5 earlier in the week, and it got bet under a kind of a key number at 10 there. So there has been some movement towards the Patriots. They actually played their best receivers last week. The receivers that can move, and took Juju Smith-Schuster didn't play. Devontae Parker got his snaps reduced. Mike Gesicki got a few more, a little bit more playing time because of Hunter Henry, but they actually put the receivers that can move and do things for Mac Jones out on the field last week, and it was a big difference for the offense, and actually showed a pulse. So yeah, one thing we this is another one. Already saw this matchup earlier this year, week 2. That was Dolphins covered in that game, but that was at the time I think a 2-point line. So that was and Belichick did a good job of limiting Tyreek Hill in that one, and that will be the mission again this week. But yeah, I'm on the Patriots plus 9.5 here. Although this has been a bit of a house of horrors for them down in Miami over the years. This is been a bad spot for the Patriots, even when they had some really good teams.
But on the other side, I mean, like for Miami, Jalen Ramsey's expected to play.
Do you see that? He was like going after Schefter, basically saying, "I'm like, how do you know? You didn't ask me." He was chirping at him that. So I don't know if that was some gamesmanship. Like, hey, I have no idea what's going on there, but Ramsey kind of disputed it. So we'll see how that goes. But no real line movement off of that. It's been 9.5, basically all day here. So there wasn't any kind of adjustment for that. Not like he's. This isn't an offense that runs through the receivers for the Patriots,
right?
So might not necessarily move the needle too much.
Did it make you more hesitant to take any Patriots props in this game, Tom? By the way, nothing on Mostert and Tyreek are fine. They're both going to play.
Yeah, there was nothing on this game that really stood out. Our chances to get Kendrick Bourne props kind of passed. He's sitting like 44.5 to 46.5 for his receiving yard props. Nothing really. Tyreek was, I believe, like 87.5 this afternoon for his receiving yards prop. 91.5 now. So there has been some action now that it looks like he's definitely going to play. There has been some overaction on that one, but nothing that really stood out for this one. Probably going to be on the sidelines for the props on this one.
Let's go to the Rams and the Cowboys, Tom. Interesting one here. The Rams are getting 6 in Dallas. Dallas coming off of its bye, 45.5 the total. The Rams getting 6 here, Tom. It feels like a lot, but then they're one of those teams that you never want to play the Rams, and then they lose every week.
Yeah, as someone that's a Steelers fan, I have no idea how the Steelers won that game by 7 points. Rams kind of dominated the first half, and then Pittsburgh got essentially a pick six. TJ Watt on the first play of the second half, and game just completely flipped. And Rams have not, they've been hanging around and they've been better than they've seen, but the results haven't quite been there. They've been good against the number though, 4-2-1 against the spread, despite the 3-4 record. This is another spot. I'll be taking the points here. We got some 6.5s out there. There's FanDuel has a 6.5. BetMGM has a -110, 6.5. So if you want to get on the Rams, make sure to get that hook. 6 is a key number, especially if there's overtime or whatever. You want to make sure you get that half a point. So that's the side I'm leaning towards. But the Cowboys are coming off their bye. They're there's some elements here that give you some pause. Stafford he still has a shaky offensive line in front of him. He hasn't been very good under pressure, and that's the one thing that the Cowboys have really excelled at to begin the season is generating pressure. So that's why I think this line has kind of just stayed right in this 6 to 6.5 point range all week here because of the discrepancy there with the pressure, the Cowboys' ability to pressure and Stafford's inability to play under pressure.
Did you take a look at the prop market for this game, Tom? And is there anything that you're interested in?
Yeah, I grabbed Brandon Cooks under 37.5. We like that tough matchup for perimeter receivers so far this year. It's been kind of a funnel towards the slot. Receivers, slot receivers against the Rams have benefited the most. So Cooks has also been under 36 yards in every game that he's played so far this year. So even that breakout game that he had against the Chargers with the touchdown, he still only had 4 catches for 36 yards. So he's been 4 or fewer targets in 4 of his 5 games. So he's not seeing a whole lot of love. So we're looking at Brandon Cooks under 37.5 receiving yards. That's a Caesars bet. Looks like it's 36.5 most other places. 34.5 at FanDuel as well. So Caesars is the place to get the 37.5.
Let's move on to the next game on the slate. Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, bro. Those the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm gonna adapt the tweet I saw from Eagles Twitter because it feels like Pittsburgh Twitter. There could be some similar self-loathing, but
it's a Pennsylvania, it's a Northeast thing.
But I think the Steelers are the epitome of this year, right? If you're texting somebody, how'd the Steelers go? It was the worst football game I ever saw in my life. They won. That's kind of what the Steelers are this year.
It's like watching Iowa football. You know, this is like I have no idea how they won a game.
They're better than Iowa.
I don't know about that. They are a professional football team. They should be better than Iowa, but
they got Pickens, man. Pickens makes plays every week. But anyway, he's going to need to, Tom, because Pittsburgh's getting 2 from the Jaguars at home. Got a question. Who was it? I think it was Brian Drake asked me on the 2 Point Stance podcast. He's like, is this the first time Jacksonville is ever favored in Pittsburgh? And I mean, there might have been teams in the Brunell era, but the Steelers were pretty good back then. I'm going to have to go to StatHead and look that up, Tom, but the Jaguars are favored in Pittsburgh by 2. What's your read on this situation?
Yeah, this very famous wild card game was played. The Jaguars came in there. I believe Leftwich was the quarterback, came into Pittsburgh and beat them. I was covering a St. Francis basketball game.
I think that was Garrard.
Oh, that was David Garrard. Yep,
yeah,
you're right. I didn't even get to watch the game. I was covering a St. Francis basketball game. This is like when I was in college, I was stringing. And the referee for that basketball game was none other than Gene Steratore of CBS fame. And he kept coming over to me to get score updates for that game. That was a heartbreaker for the Steelers back in the day. But yeah, this is one I actually am on the Jaguars on this one. It's been a little bit too much smoke and mirrors with the Steelers here. I think the Jaguars are playing at a really high level. I took -1.5 on the Jaguars earlier this week. It's been bet up to 2.5, but doesn't look like there's any pressure. You know, it's kind of just sat here at the 2.5 here for the last couple of days. There is some -114s, -115s on the -2.5. So maybe there's a chance that 3 pops for the Steelers. If you're looking to go on the other side here, keep riding that the luck of the lady luck of the Steelers here. But I'll be on the Jaguars against my favorite team here. I think the run of good luck comes to an end here against a pretty good Jaguars team.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go through here and see what the see if I can manipulate StatHead to give me all the point spreads of Jacksonville in Pittsburgh. But Tom, did you hit any props in this game while I wait? By the way, I will have you know, the Jaguars are listing Trevor Lawrence as questionable in this game. There is, judging by the point spread, there is absolutely no worry that he's not going to play.
I mean, he looked great in that Thursday night game. He was running around. He looked like, he was just, there was no issues with that knee in that game. So, yeah, I don't think there's much concern there. Deontay Johnson, that was a bizarre DNP yesterday. That was, had some Steelers fans in full-blown panic that he re-injured his hamstring, but it looks like that was more of a maintenance day than anything else. Back at practice today and list is questionable. So, but what I did take something here, I think. Oh, yeah, I did take, we're just the good old standby here. Christian Kirk. We're just going to keep betting his overs until they actually start to raise his price here. 53.5 is what we got it at. He should be lined in the high 50s here. No, don't know why here. Patrick Peterson is moved into the slot a little bit more. They're gotten Joey Porter Jr. onto the field more in Pittsburgh, and we're going to take that matchup all day. Christian Kirk in man coverage against Patrick Peterson. 54 plus yards in 5 of his last 6 games for Christian Kirk. And the Steelers are allowing the second most receiving yards per game to receivers, 206. So this is a pretty good spot again here for Christian Kirk. Fire him up and bet his over here in Pittsburgh here, playing against Patrick Peterson out of the slot.
All right, Tom, the only 2 times Jacksonville was at Pittsburgh and favored were the 2008 wild card.
Okay, that's the one I remember.
The Jags were 2.5-point favorites, but did not cover. They were they won that game by 2. They were 2.5-point favorites and did not cover. The other time was in October of 1999. Jacksonville was a 3-point favorite against the Steelers and did cover. That was Mark Brunell versus Cordell Stewart.
Yeah, I was actually at. Jaguars. They've done some shit in Pittsburgh. I remember being at a Pittsburgh Steelers Jaguars game. I know you remember this weekend. Penn State losing to Michigan, where they put the 2 extra seconds on the clock.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, I was in Pittsburgh that weekend. I went to the Steelers game the next day, and Tommy Maddox throws a pick six in overtime. The Jaguar. I'm sitting in the end zone. The Jaguars defender returns it right into my end. It was just like one of those one last middle fingers to me on that weekend. It was
Roethlisberger hurt?
Yes, he was. It was a Maddox start.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger missed that week, and Maddox did not play too well in relief. So
you were sick of it. You were sick of it. I'm sick of
it. That was one of my worst football weekends of all time. That was just terrible.
All right, let's move on to Minnesota at Green Bay. Who knows what the hell is going to happen in this game, Tom? Minnesota's flying high. Jordan Addison, baby. He's the next Justin Jefferson. They beat the Niners on Monday Night Football, and now they're laying 1.5 in Lambeau against an absolutely reeling Green Bay Packers team. Is Jordan Love the guy? Oh, no. I feel like we've seen this story before, though, with the Vikings. Like,
I know.
The 1.5. Oh, God. This is one, Tom. I feel like the Sharps are going to be on Green Bay in this one.
We'll see. I mean, this one's it did open up. Green Bay was favored by 1.5, so a lot of money. I'm looking. I write down all these lines on Monday morning when they first kind of come out. They come out Sunday night, and obviously the Vikings played on Monday night, played really well. We did add this to our best bets. Added the Vikings +1 at the time on Tuesday morning, anticipating some money coming for the Vikings later this week. So. I still like it at -1. If you're going to lay less than a field goal, this Packers team, coming out of a bye, and they just kind of look lifeless. Matt LaFleur's calling a really scared game. He's very not letting Jordan Love really, because maybe he thinks Jordan Love stinks and can't attack downfield, and some very passive play calling against a bad Broncos defense last week. I actually love what I've seen from the Vikings a lot. I mean, they totally, their offensive line totally neutralized San Francisco's pass rush last week. I think this defense, outside of, the early performance, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think their defense is really starting to come around. And under Brian Flores, he's kind of found his way here. So I think the Vikings are going to they're right back in the playoff picture here. I think they're, kind of sneaky here. We might, maybe another week or two where we're getting some value here. I think the Vikings are a good play here, even just a -1.5, though. It does scare me, them going into Green Bay, divisional matchup. This is supposed to be like the first real cold weather game.
Then Kirky, after he slays the primetime demon, he goes and cooks it up in Lambeau.
AJ Dillon, he's going to put the winter tires on in this one. Yeah. And I still like the Vikings here -1.5, but I don't think this line is urgent. You have to get down. I don't see it getting like 2.5 or 3. It's kind of just sitting here in this 1.5 to 2 point range.
Did you hit any props in this game, Tom? Jordan Addison, by the way, 58.5. I'm a little surprised by that, but
a little too pricey now for me. Or you were expecting it?
I think I thought it was going to be higher, but the cold weather, Kirky in Lambeau, I don't know.
It's quite the bump up. He was sitting like 50.5, in that like high 40s, low 50s the first 2 weeks with Justin Jefferson out of lineup. And I mean, that one touchdown pass was a bit fluky there, so you take that away, and the line was not as good as it might seem. So I actually thought it was a little bit higher than I wanted to see here, but no, nothing really stood out here. I did go through this game a couple times, and nothing really popped out to me. It might be one I double back to later this weekend, but like Packer stuff. I mean, I can only look at unders for Packer stuff the way Jordan Love's playing right now. And as I said, I think the days of discounts on like Addison, even Hawkinson right now are kind of gone right now. So nothing that really stood out here for this matchup.
Moving on to our final game on the 1 p.m. slate. This is another one of those ones in that 1 to 2 point range, Tom, near pick'em. New Orleans laying 1 in Indy, 43.5 the total. The Saints giving the 1 on the highway. What's your read on the total on the line here, Tom?
Yeah, I don't feel great about this one. I took the Colts for ATS poll purposes. I really don't have a great feel. It looks like Zach Moss might miss this week.
Yeah, he's got an elbow injury.
Yeah, he was a DNP.
He's questionable.
Yeah, he was a DNP Wednesday and Friday. He tried to practice Thursday, and it looks like they kind of shut him down. So, looks like if you were patient with Jonathan Taylor, could be I'm sure Scott's going to be writing him up as one of the a big DFS play this week if Moss is out of the lineup. So for ATS pool purposes, I'm with the Colts here. Nothing real magical to say about this game. I did take Josh Downs, his receptions prop. It was plus 110 over 4.5 catches. I thought that was pretty enticing. It has been bet up quite a bit, though. I'm seeing DraftKings now has it minus 125. So hopefully you were able to I gave that out this afternoon. Hopefully you were able to get down on that now. There's a minus 108 at FanDuel if you still want to get down on it. We saw Christian Kirk in this matchup last week. This is kind of a slot funnel. They have Adebo and Lattimore on the perimeter, shutting down receivers, and it's kind of been a 2-receiver offense anyway, with Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, and so I expect Josh Downs to get some of these low A-dot, just the extended handoffs, and like him a lot here. His reception, his receiving yards prop is sitting at 48.5. So he's starting to come on here, and we've been propping him up on the waiver wire the last couple of weeks, and now he's finally starting to get owned. And I think he's a pretty good play, even with all 32 teams playing this week. He's probably a good, solid PPR wide receiver 3 this week. And I'm expecting maybe 5 catches from him at least.
Look at the total in this one. Seattle 3.5, given 3.5 at home to PJ Walker and the Browns, 37.5 the total. And look, Tom, that tells you what the respect for the Browns defense, but the lack of respect for PJ Walker here. 37.5 with the weapons that the Seahawks have, and by the way, will have in this game. Okay. DK Metcalf will be back. Tyler Lockett's listed as questionable, but Pete Carroll said he will play or is expected to play. And after a couple of bizarre DNPs, Ken Walker's not even on the injury report. Both he and Zach Charbonnet are going to play in this backfield. Seattle given 3.5 to the Browns.
Yeah, this is one we got down on Monday morning. We gave out minus 2.5 with the Seahawks. Just anticipating another shit show.
Feels good, T-Bro, when you get on that side.
This was one of those like, hey, if Deshaun starts, I still think this is getting a 3. He was awful last week. He did not look good before the injury. Looked pretty lost. So that was one of those. I just felt good either way. Who was going to be at quarterback? And then they got to turn to PJ Walker this week. Seahawks, I don't even know if it's been sneaky. They've been a pretty good defense here ever since that Monday night game against the Giants. Obviously, that was part of the opponent, but I do think they're playing much better football here on the defensive side since Witherspoon has kind of come in there and gotten healthy and added another layer to that secondary. They did lose Nwosu, I did see, though. Out for the season with a torn pectoral. He's been one of their best pass rushers. So that's a bit of a underrated loss. Didn't hear a whole lot about that this week, but a little bit of a downgrade for this defense, but still like minus 3. And there's no minus 3s out there. It's pretty solid minus 3.5. So yeah, the days of getting in on the Seahawks, hopefully you got in that early or even just got a minus 3 earlier this week, because it looks like it's going to sit in this 3.5 to 4 point range with PJ Walker starting. And I do have a prop against him as well, Joe.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, his number came out at 207.5 passing yards. I bet the under on that one. It's down to 202.5. And FanDuel is sitting at 197.5. That's honestly right where I kind of thought the number would start out this week for him, in that mid 190s range, and not expecting as you said, the totals right there at 37, 38 points. Not expecting a whole lot of offense on either side of the ball here. Could be a run fest here. So like getting PJ Walker under, even still at 202.5 if you were unable to get the 207.5.
Baltimore Ravens at the Arizona Cardinals. Baltimore, T-Bro, laying a bunch here. 9.5 on the road, 44.5 the total. I said it last week and it happened again. Josh Dobbs has started to splatter against his ceiling. Kyler Murray, fully practiced today, is not on the injury report, is listed as doubtful. So they're still ramping him up. You got to ramp him up before you starting. But I picked him up, Tom, in a couple of leagues, but it looks like we've got one more Josh Dobbs start here. Baltimore at Arizona. Jonathan Gannon, they asked him, they said to him, why is he off the injury report? He says, well, he's healthy. So, I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Why not play him then?
Maybe he should give some advice to Arthur Smith there, but farty arty. But let's 9.5 Baltimore against Arizona. One of those Tom, this is one of those situations. You got a team going on the road against a bad opponent after just looking like
win.
I'd have a hard time laying the 9.5 with Baltimore, but I also might have a hard time taking the 9.5 with Arizona here.
Yeah, this is one of those classic stay away games for me. But you're completely right. This could be a sleepy spot for Baltimore after beating up on a Lions team that was getting a lot of love as being the best team in the NFC last week, and things quickly changed. And the Ravens were a team that everybody kind of was lining up on last week. They were left a lot of plays out in the field. We're having troubles scoring. Red zone woes, and last week it all came together, and they just laid the smackdown on the Lions here. So a bit of a tough spot. But yeah, this Cardinals team hasn't been very competitive in recent weeks. They ended up getting a backdoor. I don't even know if it was backdoor, but got a push because that line got bet up to like -10 for the Seahawks last week. I would anticipate money has been coming against the Cardinals most weeks. So if you do want to get in on Baltimore, now's the time while it's at -9.5. I would almost guarantee that it finishes at 10 or higher here later in the week. So if you want to get in on Baltimore, now's the time. There's going to get a lot of because it's the recreational bettor's going to be like, Baltimore.
Baltimore
Big win last week.
Arizona.
Cardinals suck. Yeah, I'm laying whatever.
There's a
whatever
lot of those games this week, by the way. A lot of them.
Well, yeah, last week was crazy. It was like 8 coin toss games. It was all field goal or less in 8 of the 13. And then this week it's all, a lot of because I fill out our staff picks and stuff, and I do the suicide, and we break it down in 3 columns, and I'm like, holy crap, all these so many games. There was like 7 or 8 on the schedule that were in that 6 or higher range. So yeah, this is quite a different week than last week. We got I think the staff got the wrong side of the coin all week last week too.
I don't think a single one of us went above 500 straight up last week, which is I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I won 4-9. There was 3 of, and Graham's been our leader throughout for the entire season, and he went 4-9. We were all 4-9, and there was 3 4-9s. There was a bunch of 6 and 7s. The consensus, which is usually does pretty well, it was 6 and 7. So yeah, last week was a very unique week. Yeah, I mean, 49ers going down, Bills going down. There were some big upsets that certainly killed some suicide bowls as well. So yeah, last week was an interesting week.
Are you brave enough to get on the Trey McBride 32.5, Tom?
No. Oh man, I was thinking about it if it opened in like the mid-20s or something. Yeah. But yeah, this is I had a Michael Wilson prop last week, and watching Josh Dobbs trying to complete passes downfield was pretty difficult. So I will not be going towards any overs with the Arizona Cardinals offense at this point, especially against the Ravens defense that's playing pretty well. But yeah, this is pretty limited market as well. I was looking maybe Gus Edwards, but his prop is rightfully so. It's like right in that like high, low 60s, high 50s for his rushing yards prop. So it's up like 10, 15 yards from where it normally sits, because this is a good matchup and a game where they could be leading. So yeah, nothing really stood out prop wise for this game.
All right, Tom, I want to analyze your read on this spread here. Cincinnati at San Francisco. San Francisco's laying 43.5 the total. This has been a roller coaster. Yes. Because Brock Purdy shockingly ends up in the concussion protocol on Wednesday. Oh my God, short week. Practices in full on Friday. Kyle Shanahan says he has one more step to clear. That's the independent neurologist. Expectations are he will clear and will start against the Bengals. So unfortunately, we're not going to get the
I know.
Sam Darnold.
I did. I wanted to see Sam Darnold. Because it's almost like one of those like, we hear, the system quarter, anybody can play quarterback. I want to see Sam Darnold in it.
Sam Darnold. I wanted to see if Darnold could do it. Well, we're not going to see it. It doesn't look like.
Doesn't look
4 is the number though, Tom. This was up at, I believe, 6 earlier in the week before the Purdy news came out. Where do you think this is going to land? 43.5 the total.
Yeah, I had 5.5 written down for kind of the consensus opener, but yeah, I think there was like a rogue 6 or so. So it got bet down. There might have been some 3s that popped up when it looked like Darnold was going to be the starter. It got down mostly to 3.5s. But as you said, it's gotten bet up here a little bit. Maybe it gets back up to that 4.5 range of, it is at the 4 to 4.5 range. Maybe I think it's going to probably settle in here, even if we get the Purdy. Definitely is going to play
below the 6.
Yeah, it's kind of in this no man's land.
I still will say this: if you like the Niners, get on it now, probably. Because I think it's probably just going to go up. But.
Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go down. I don't think so. As soon as we get some sort of confirmation that Purdy plays, maybe it gets up to 5, but I don't think it gets back up to 6. So, I'm ATS poll purposes. I picked the 49ers just because I figured most people in polls would, they're gonna, Purdy's questionable. He's coming off a shit game. So I think it's probably a little bit contrarian here to go with the 49ers. Bengals have coming off the bye, getting healthy. I think a lot of the narratives are in the Bengals corner, but the 49, this is back-to-back losses. I think they want to emphatically end this. So I'll go with the 49ers minus, I think it was minus 3.5 yesterday when we released the staff picks, but yeah, -4, -4.5 if you're making picks this weekend.
Did you hit anything in the prop market, Tom? I know we don't. There's nothing here for the 49ers in terms of the passing, but there are receiving props and rushing props for the 49ers.
Yeah, I did hit T. Higgins over his receiving yards. It was at 44.5.
46.5 now.
Yeah, it's
like the Devontae Smith thing, right? Like just
this is extreme. This is one of we're buying low. This is his prop all year up until he was high low 60s, maybe 58.5, 59. So we're getting a 15 to 20 yard discount. So we're buying low. And the matchup has been pretty good here. As we saw with the Minnesota Vikings last week. Even dating back to last year, the 49ers have been passed on. So looking for, he was off the injury report this week. He actually played before the bye as well, but he's clearly limited. They were limiting his routes and stuff like that. So we're buying the discount here. He when he was healthy, he saw 28 targets in the first 3 weeks. Didn't catch a lot of them. Did have one big game in that span, but I'm thinking that maybe we get Burrow and Higgins back to closer to what they're capable of, and we'll buy the dip here at 44.5. Now at 46.5. I still like it at 46. Anything under 50 yards, I still like with T. Higgins over his receiving yards.
The Chiefs and the Broncos, Tom. I saw a Chiefs fan site putting out a list of the quarterbacks, the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. The last time the Chiefs lost to the Broncos. Well, the markets don't think they're going to lose this one. The Broncos are catching a full 7 at home at Mile High, -105, 47.5 the total, Tom. -105 for the Broncos getting the 7. So it looks like this might get up to 7 and the hook. And the last Bronco quarterback to beat the Chiefs, Tom, was Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I know. It's what we're at 16 games right now. I think I have it in my game hub. But yeah, it's been a long time. This one was at 8.5 earlier in the week, so this one has been bet down, but it looks like it's one of those 7.25 lines. There is a 7.5 out there at FanDuel. Looks like it's just going to ping pong between 7 and 7.5. So this is one of those cases where, if you want the Chiefs, make sure you get a 7. If you want the Broncos, there's plenty of books out there that have 7.5. So that's the way I'm leaning with Denver. It was a game that we probably should have covered in 2 weeks ago. The Chiefs were certainly trying to let the Broncos cover, but this was the one that finished at 10.5 was the spread. And the Chiefs ended up winning 19-8 on that Thursday night game. Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and the passing game could not get going in that game. It was a rough performance, and we'll see if it's a little different this week. I do lean toward the Broncos, though. I think they're making some I think the defense at least has made some strides here in the last couple of weeks. Played well against the Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and it was the Packers offense last week, but they're showing some signs of life after being completely dead for a month.
Did you hit anything in the prop market for this one?
This is I did add a Jerry Jeudy under.
Under. Oh my God, I'm gonna hit that right now.
Yeah, 47.5 is what we got it at. It looks like it's now 46.5, 45.5 at some spots. As you probably highlighted in your mismatch. I haven't read it this week. I usually have read it by now. I'll put that on my reading list.
It's in there. Don't worry.
Morning.
It's in there.
I figured. OJ McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is a regular in that column for you. We saw this matchup 2 weeks ago. 5 targets in that game for Jeudy, 3 for 14 receiving. Judy's 5 targets in 4 of his 6 games. And I think he's gotten 7 targets in the other 2. So it's not like he's getting fed the ball either. So even if he does break a reception, and something from Graham's column, I put in this, Jeudy is averaging 0.83 yards per route run versus 2 high coverage. So, and they ran a lot of 2 high coverage against them just 2 weeks ago in that Thursday night game. So everything's kind of lining up that Jeudy is going to have another disappointing performance. So we're jumping on the under 47.5.
Let's go to the Sunday night game. Tyson Bagent against Justin Herbert. Secret Bagent. The Chargers are laying 8.5, 46.5 the total. We are going to start a dialogue on Justin Herbert if he can't beat Tyson Bagent.
Yeah, I kind of like getting the points here. 8.5. I just don't trust the Chargers to really blow out any team at this point. I mean, they just. This is a bad team, and there's not a whole lot to watch for in this game on Sunday night, but I'll be rooting hard for the Bears. I'm so sick of Brandon Staley. I just want to see the Bears win, and so he gets please just fire this guy already. Like, this guy's a defensive specialist, and his team, has the worst defense in the league here. So I'm on the Bears here, plus 8.5. Prop wise. I ended up taking, took a Cole Kmet under 29.5 yards. It does scare me going up against a pretty shitty, Brandon Staley defense here, but 43 pass attempts so far with Bagent, 83 minutes of action, no targets for Cole Kmet. Maybe there's a squeaky wheel. I don't think it's coming. It doesn't seem to be a real connection between the two. So we're taking the under there. His routes, this is one of the main reasons I ended up jumping on this. His routes were way down last week, 51.5% route share, kind of using him as extra protection for Bagent. So, and even if he does see some target, he's averaging under 10 yards of reception, 8 out of 6 yards. I mean, a lot of this obviously came with Justin Fields since he hasn't seen a target from Bagent. So, but he's not a downfield target for this offense. So, kind of like Cole Kmet under his receiving yards. 29.5 was the number that was out there.
Let's go to the final game of the slate, Tom, and it's a Monday night rip snorter. We've got the Lions hosting the Raiders here, and I got to be honest, Tom. I'm going to be on this is one of those games that's the opposite side of some of these games we talked about. I think the Lions are going to fucking smoke them on Monday night.
I do too.
The Lions are giving 8.46 the total.
Yeah, they disappointed me last week. That's just the only thing that's kind of keeping me off.
It was a complete no-show, but I think they rebound.
I do too. And this has been a spot where Jared Goff, the home road splits have been well documented at this point. And we get them against the Raiders defense that's not very spectacular. So yeah, I could see them having some fun in this one and lighten up that scoreboard a little bit. Maybe we'll get 2 AFC West coaches fired in 1 week. That would be nice. If say the Raiders lose by 30 points in this one, but I'm totally with you. Well, this might be a bet depending on how the weekend goes. Maybe we add the Lions on Monday as a best bet here, but For the time being, I think it was 7.5 for ATS poll purposes. Mostly -8 out there now. So definitely the side we're leaning towards for that Monday night game.
Did he hit anything in the prop market? Oh, by the way, Jimmy Garoppolo practiced in full. He's going to start, which if you like the Raiders, that's at least obviously some good news for you there.
Yeah, and I think for the player props as well, if you're looking for overs for the receivers in this game, that's certainly an upgrade. Maybe I'll go back to that Michael Mayer prop. I didn't, these props really weren't out there this afternoon when I was looking. Just kind of get my first glance at them here. 21.5. With Jimmy Garoppolo back, and I think the Titans have been pretty, that's been a tight end funnel here. Certainly something we're going to look at a little harder here. Jacoby Myers props are no longer discounted. We're at 61.5 now. On the other side, yeah, nothing really. I mean, holy crap! Amon-Ra's prop was what I was actually looking maybe towards the under, because it's really gotten. He's a guy that usually sitting low 70s, and now it's sitting 83.5. It was 84.5 earlier today. But yeah, that was one that kind of stood out to me, is maybe we hit an under there just because of how stretched out his prop has gotten. But yeah, nothing that has popped out yet. But obviously Monday night, I'll probably, I'll be looking later this weekend, and maybe even add something on Monday for that game.
Ebro, go get yourself the Brolley Friday beer. I've got to record the morning show. And then we're going out to get some jerk chicken tonight. I'm excited about that. So I hope everybody enjoys. And thanks to Josh, who was talking to himself.
Yeah,
like
I
he
see
announced
that, Josh.
in the chat. Thanks
for watching, man.
Rip Snorter's a little different than a hootenanny. But I'm tired of seeing the Raiders. Josh and Patrick were talking.
What
to
the
each
hell
other.
is that? Like, why are they on so many goddamn prime? Like, nobody wants to see this team. Like, what the hell?
Well, they do have a national fan base, I guess, but still, yeah. Anyway, we'll let Trey go. Thanks everybody for joining us for the point spread. Make sure you stay for the DFS show, obviously with Scott, Jake, and Graham. It's been wonderful talking to you. Have a good weekend, everybody.